The highway was quiet that afternoon, the kind of drive where Maya Porter liked to roll down her window and let the hum of the tires calm her. She was on her way home from a long week at the bureau, looking forward to a simple evening with a book and a cup of tea. Then flashing lights erupted in her rearview mirror, slicing through her calm like a blade. She pulled over carefully, her training guiding her every movement. She kept both hands visible on the steering wheel, rolled the window down, and waited. As the officer approached, Maya expected the standard routine. A polite greeting, maybe a claim of a minor traffic violation. Instead, Officer Travis Colburn stormed forward, his face already hardened with aggression. "Step out of the vehicle. Now," he barked. No explanation, no request for documents, just an order dripping with hostility. Maya's stomach tightened. She had worked cases involving police misconduct, and she recognized the look in his eyes. He had already decided she was guilty of something. Keeping her voice even, she asked calmly, "Officer, may I know the reason I've been stopped?" Colburn ignored the question, yanking at the door handle. "Out." His hand hovered dangerously close to his holster. Maya's instincts screamed caution. She explained slowly that her identification was in the glove compartment. "I'm reaching with my right hand," she announced, every syllable deliberate, just as she had taught civilians in FBI outreach programs. But Colburn wasn't listening. Before she could move, he grabbed her arm, twisted it painfully behind her back, and hauled her out of the car. Her shoulder throbbed as he slammed her against the hood. "Stop resisting," he shouted, even though she was motionless. A second cruiser pulled up, and Sergeant Reed stepped out, visibly confused by the scene. He watched as Maya, dressed casually in jeans and a blouse, stood pinned against her own car by a fellow officer acting more like an aggressor than a professional. "What's going on here, Travis?" Reed asked sharply. "She fits the description of a suspect. Wouldn't show ID," Colburn spat. "That's not true," Maya managed, her cheek pressed against cold metal. Her voice was steady, but her mind churned. If this was happening to her, an FBI agent who knew her rights, what chance did ordinary citizens have? Reed's gaze swept the car, and something caught his eye. A photo clipped to the dashboard. It showed Maya in full FBI dress blues, standing tall as she received the Medal of Valor. Recognition dawned on him instantly. His tone shifted, urgent now. "Travis, back off. Now." Colburn froze, his grip loosening as realization flickered across his face. The woman he had just manhandled wasn't a random motorist. She was a decorated federal agent. For the first time since the lights flashed in her mirror, Maya allowed herself a small breath. But she wasn't relieved. She was furious. Not because she had been treated like a criminal, but because she knew the truth. If that photo hadn't been there, she might not have lived to tell the story. The silence that followed Reed's command was heavy. Colburn's grip slackened, but he didn't fully let go. His pride warred with his fear, his face flushing red as he realized the gravity of what he had done. Maya, still pressed against the hood, turned her head enough to meet his eyes. She didn't flinch. She didn't beg. She simply held his gaze until he finally released her. Reed stepped closer, his tone now clipped with authority. "Uncuff her. Immediately." Reluctantly, Colburn fumbled with the restraints. The cuffs snapped open, and Maya rubbed at her wrists where red marks were already forming. She straightened her blouse, her dignity intact despite the bruise swelling on her cheek and the sting in her shoulder. For a moment, she stood in silence, drawing a deep breath to steady herself. Then she walked calmly to the passenger side of her vehicle, opened the glove compartment, and pulled out a slim black leather wallet. She turned, holding it firmly in her hand. With a sharp flick, she flipped it open and thrust it inches from Colburn's face. The gold badge gleamed under the late afternoon sun. Federal Bureau of Investigation. "Special Agent Maya Porter," she said evenly. Her voice wasn't loud, but it carried more weight than Colburn's barked orders ever had. Counterterrorism Division, Organized Crime Task Force, Civil Corruption Unit. I've spent the last 15 years cleaning up the messes of men like you. Colburn's jaw dropped. Reed's eyes widened as Maya continued, her voice gaining steel. You profiled me. You assaulted me. You put your hands on a federal agent without cause. And you thought you could get away with it because I look like someone on your imaginary list. Colburn stammered, I didn't know. That's the problem. Maya cut in, her voice like ice. You didn't care to know. You saw skin color, not credentials. You saw a target, not a citizen. For a moment, the only sound was the faint hum of passing traffic. Then Maya's hand moved deliberately toward the small camera mounted on her dash. And by the way, Officer Colburn, she said, this car records everything. From the moment you pulled me over to the second you put your hands on me, it's all on video. With audio. Every insult, every threat, every false accusation. All preserved. The blood drained from Colburn's face. He glanced at Reed, who shook his head grimly. She's got you dead to rights, Travis, Reed muttered. This isn't going away. Maya tucked her badge back into her jacket, then leaned in close enough for Colburn to hear her clearly. You tried to humiliate me. Instead, you exposed yourself. I don't need to shout. I don't need to threaten. The truth is already written, and it's going to follow you further than your patrol car ever will. Reed, trying to salvage the situation, said softly, Agent Porter, if there's anything I can. Maya raised a hand. Save it. I'll let Internal Affairs and the Department of Justice handle the rest. She walked back to her car, bruised but unbroken. As she closed the driver's side door, she caught Colburn's reflection in the mirror, staring at her with a mix of fear and fury. He had no idea yet just how far that dashcam footage would travel. Maya didn't go home that evening. Instead, she drove straight to the Justice Department's field office downtown. Her shoulder ached, her wrists throbbed, and her lip was split, but she refused to rest. The dashcam footage was downloaded, secured on an encrypted drive, and attached to her official complaint. She gave her statement in a calm, clinical tone, recounting every detail. The flashing lights, the barked orders, the force used without justification. She left nothing out. The next morning, the video leaked. It wasn't Maya who released it. Her bureau chain of command later confirmed that an internal investigator, outraged at what he had seen, pushed it into the public domain. Within hours, the clip went viral. Social media lit up with hashtags demanding justice. Commentators replayed the moment Colburn dragged Maya from her vehicle, contrasting it with her poised reveal of the FBI badge. News anchors posed the chilling question again and again. If Maya Porter hadn't been FBI, would she have survived that traffic stop? Fairfax Police Department scrambled. Chief Holloway convened an emergency press conference, his jaw tight as reporters bombarded him with questions about Colburn's record. For years, complaints of excessive force and profiling had been quietly buried in internal reviews. Now, under the weight of video evidence and public fury, those skeletons rattled their way out of the closet. Maya, meanwhile, was thrust into a spotlight she hadn't sought. She found herself interviewed on morning shows, her calm composure contrasting with the bruises still visible on her face. I'm not here for sympathy, she told one anchor firmly. I'm here because what happened to me happens to others every single day. The only difference is I had a badge and a camera. Too many don't. The fallout was swift. Civil rights attorneys announced a class action lawsuit against Fairfax PD, citing systemic abuse. Community leaders organized rallies, holding up signs that read justice for Maya, justice for all. Colburn was suspended without pay pending investigation, but the damage to his reputation was already irreversible. Inside his modest suburban home, Colburn sat slumped in front of his television, watching his own face replayed endlessly on national broadcasts. He had once imagined himself a hero in uniform. Now he was infamous, a symbol of everything broken in modern policing. Every time the dashcam clip rolled, his aggression echoed back at him, inescapable and damning. For Maya, the personal toll was heavy. Her sleep was restless, haunted by what-ifs. Yet she never wavered in her resolve. She met with DOJ attorneys and pressed for more than disciplinary action against one officer. She wanted structural change, mandatory bias training, external audits of traffic stops, stronger civilian oversight boards. This can't just be about punishing one man, she insisted in meetings. It has to be about preventing the next stop from turning into a tragedy. In the weeks that followed, Maya watched as her complaint transformed into a catalyst for reform. What had begun as one hostile traffic stop was now the spark for a movement. And she knew it was only the beginning. By the time winter settled over the city, Maya Porter was no longer just the FBI agent pulled from her car. She had become something larger. A symbol, a voice, a reminder that silence could be broken if the truth was dragged into the light. The dashcam footage continued to circulate, finding its way into classrooms, police academies, and civil rights workshops. Professors used it as a case study on racial bias. Activists replayed it at rallies as proof of systemic rot. For Maya, however, the attention was never about fame. It was about ensuring that the ordeal she endured wasn't wasted. When she spoke publicly, her words carried the weight of lived experience. Standing at a town hall packed with community members, she said firmly, "I survived because I had a badge and a camera. But your neighbors, your cousins, your children, they don't have that shield. If it can happen to me, it can happen to anyone. That's why this fight matters." Her testimony reached Capitol Hill. Lawmakers invited her to speak before a congressional committee on policing standards. She arrived not in her FBI dress blues, but in a simple suit, determined to be seen not as an agent but as a citizen. She told her story plainly, no theatrics, no embellishments. Her quiet strength filled the chamber. One representative later admitted her words, cut deeper than any statistic ever could. Meanwhile, Colburn's career disintegrated. Internal Affairs confirmed patterns of misconduct in his file, from false reports to intimidation tactics. He was dismissed from the force, facing possible federal charges. To Maya, his downfall wasn't cause for celebration but proof of what accountability could look like. But her focus was broader. Partnering with advocacy groups, Maya launched the Invisible Stops Project, a nationwide effort to collect testimonies from others who had experienced profiling and unlawful detainment. The stories poured in, teachers, nurses, veterans, even off-duty firefighters, all recounting how they had been treated as suspects first and human beings second. Each story became part of a public database, fueling policy recommendations and reform bills. At one rally, a mother approached Maya with tears in her eyes. She explained how her teenage son had been pulled over 3 times in a single month, searched without cause, and left humiliated each time. Maya knelt down, looked the woman in the eye, and said softly, "I can't erase what happened, but I promise you, your son's story will be heard." That moment, small and human, reminded her why she kept pushing despite the exhaustion. Months later, as Maya addressed a graduating class of new FBI recruits, she left them with a lesson etched in her bones. The badge didn't protect me. It revealed what was already there. Power is dangerous when wielded without humility. Remember that every time you wear your own badge, because the people you serve deserve better. The room erupted in applause, but Maya simply nodded. She knew her work wasn't done. Change was slow, imperfect, and met with resistance. But she also knew that her voice, once nearly silenced on the side of a road, was now part of something unstoppable. Maya Porter had gone from a survivor of injustice to a catalyst for reform, and she vowed she would not stop until no one else had to endure what she did.